Dr. Weller, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Like I mentioned earlier, I really enjoyed hosting your panel last year in San Antonio. It was such an honor then, and it's such, much of an honor now to continue the conversation with you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sean. What are we going to talk about?
Well, I'm excited to hear about your new YouTube channel, Weller World. But before we do dive into that, I kind of want to go back.
Weller was just up today.
Yeah, today's the day about it. But before we do dive into that, I do want to go back to where your curiosity for the arts and history first began, and when did that spark really take hold for you?
I had no interest in it. My dad was big into history. My cousins are all summa cum laudes. My dad's twin brothers, kids, and the whole Weller idiom on my father's side was a bunch of academic programs. I had no. My brother was brilliant at reading and absorbing and regurgitating all sorts of stuff. I had none. But I was definitely intimidated. So I think my whole interest comes because I was maybe somewhere I felt like I was at the caboose of the train, right? And somewhere definitely felt inferior to all of them because they're all like whiz. To this day, my three cousins are like, books in 2 seconds and that stuff. I have to read. Look, Sally Spot runs the grocery store is. That's me. So, but in any case, I remember one book my father had that ended up being in my college dorm when I was a junior. And it was Robert Graves, the great English historian. It was like the Greek gods or something, or the Roman gods, I forget. And I remember that sort of grabbed me. And after that, I go to. I'm a jazz musician. I'm a trumpet player. I'm not going to be Miles Davis. I go to New York. I'm a method actor, stage dude, and I still don't read too much except for plays. I go to movies, and then reading histories was not my thing. It was Ali MacGraw, the great actress model, who was mostly people know her for that, but you got to forget she's also a stylist, a fashion stylist, and design major at Wellesley, and she's run over with her. Most people know this story with me. I'm hanging out with Ali, but she's hanging out with like, the big mockers in New York, the writers and the museum arcade people and painters and so forth. And she rubs my nose in Picasso, and then I get interested in art. Now, once you get interested in art, you got to read. Sorry, you can't just go like, oh, wow, that's a de Kooning. I really like it. You can do that. But if you ain't got no idea where de Kooning comes from, if you can't go back to abstract impressionism, to Cezanne, to Edging, to all the way back to Piero della Francesca, then and I know everybody's going, what? Who's he talking about? Yeah. You think Cezanne just happened in a vacuum, people? No. No, he was a definite nerd. But man, he was looking at some other stuff. So you got to look at the other stuff. And I started looking at the other stuff. I was just telling this story today. There's a couple of kids I really like. The names are Ava and Charlie, the rockers, and met them totally by accident in a Mexican restaurant, but we hang out. And they're so well informed, one with NYU, one with the USC, and we talk about this stuff about reading. And it's amazing to me that they're 20, 21 years old. And yeah, they're into film and they're into rock and roll, they're into history of the arts and so forth. But they're readers. And I was not. And, Charlie was just today, he's Charlie Rudderman, 20, 21. And he was talking about this guy and that, the guy in this film and who wrote this and when. And thought, man, you know what? I don't know whether it's the internet or what that is clicking in, but not all this stuff is bad. Look, here's a nerd thing for you. I go to Pompeii. It's hotter than hell. I take my kid. He doesn't really want to go. He's been before. I've been 28 times. Where was my friend Antonio, who is essentially leading us, because you've got to have a tour leader, and they're really good. But Teddy has been on TikTok finding out where the sewage system is in Pompeii. shows me this sewage pipe. And I'm sorry I didn't have Sean the camera on, but I'm thinking, okay, what am I missing here, man? I had no interest in this when I was 13 years old. I had no interest in going to school or reading anything. So not all this info on the phone is bad. If a kid could turn on TikTok and has an interest in finding out where the sewage system is in Pompeii, I don't know. There's something good about that knowledge. But I didn't have it. I didn't have it. I had to learn it. And I wish I did have it. You know, maybe I'd be Einstein by this time, but
That's true. Technology has helped a lot with education and just learning things. And that's why I think everyone, just as myself, is excited for that launch of Weller World, because I feel like it's also the ultimate expression of your lifelong curiosity. And I just love hearing you express what your knowledge and informing us about a lot of things, because I've been following your journey for a long time. So what inspires you to finally create a YouTube channel then?
well, here's the thing. Once I got a book out with Cambridge University Press, Leon Battista Alberti in Exile. Do I have the book with me? Do I have the book with me? Are we on film, by the way?
Yes.
We are on film. Okay, hang on 2 seconds. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Sean. As they say in New York, if you are going to publish something, you must shamelessly promote it.
Yes, of course.
Shamelessly. Okay, Leon Battista Alberti in Exile, right? Beautiful book, beautiful cover, beautiful guy, polymath dude. This will walk you through the Renaissance, even if you don't read a word of it. This is the polymath, original Renaissance. This is the OG Renaissance man. And this book is about how he got his jam, to use modern terms. But look, I didn't know how to promote it. And somebody says, social media. I don't want to do social media. I'm not that guy. Yeah, it is. Hey, my friend Corey Reeder, who's helping me set up the YouTube thing, he says, I got a friend, she's gifted, she's done social media all her life. You know, and I meet her and she says, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Get your book off the ground. And in no time at all, it sold 300 copies or pushing on 400 copies, which for an academic book is pretty remarkable. But as I'm going around doing all this stuff and I'm traveling, I travel all the time. And I'm taking videos. And my friend Corey, a lot of times, you know, he's got his own gigs and so forth, but he goes with me. And a couple people go with me. A couple people from here in LA show up. My friend Luke and Chuck and Brad. And sometimes we go play golf and sometimes we look at stuff. I'm taking these videos and the head of social media, Casey says, let's do a YouTube channel. And my wife, Sherry, has always called it Weller World. Because it's not just now, but it's like for the past 30 years, I've been taking people tromping around Italy. And it's not Rick Steves, and it's not my friend Rocky Ruggiero, who's the total Renaissance genius who has a webinar on and so forth. It's many different little games, like, you know, academia, macadamia, you know, where to eat while you're studying something, like Italy quickly, or quickly Italy. There's a 20-second shot. See this church? The guy who designed that is this guy. See this over here? That may be Leonardo's last thing done in 1517. We don't know. See this here? This is done by the great guy Masaccio, invented the movie. This is so it's fast hits. That's Italy quickly all over Italy, and some of it's going to be in France, some of it's going to be in Spain. But what I want to do is that it comes from the desire of when I was walking through Europe, I wanted to hit something really quick. I didn't want to sit down and do a 20-minute video on the history of Michelangelo. I'm sorry. I could do that in class. I could do that somewhere else. I want somebody to go, hey, man, with verve and enthusiasm, you want to know where to eat some paella? Go here, man. Hey, you want to hear the best flamenco in Cadiz? Go to that club. That's what I wanted to hit. And so that's what Weller World is. It's quick.
It is. And as you're explaining this, I'm like, I need this as an app as well. I need you as an app. That'd be perfect, actually, to be with the Weller World YouTube channel. When audiences tune in, what do they what do you hope they walk away with? The knowledge, the inspiration, a sense of wonder, maybe?
I hope that they walk away. The best thing we can do, look, I was just with a great guy. I wish I would have filmed him. Wish he was on. I had him. The Professor Edward Watts. Edward Watts wrote a bunch of books on Rome. He's at UC San Diego. He's a fun guy. His son Nate is going to UCLA studying poli-sci. But Edward Watts is, a cat talking to us. We had dinner last night. Me, Corey, Dr. David Ewan. We're talking about like the wandering of Italy. How do you pick up this stuff? How do you learn this stuff? Like I say, like I don't want to read a book. What I hope that somebody takes away from it is somebody is galvanizing. He was challenged, Edward, essentially by, I think, his son or some friend. Hey, write a book about the fall of the Roman Republic, not the empire, the Republic, with all those famous guys, Julius Caesar and Cicero and Spartacus. These are all in there, man. And Crassus, aka Laurence Olivier, and all those dudes, Cato the Younger, and Pompey the Great. Write a book that we can all read quick. And so when you read the book, I read the book twice. It makes me want to go to Rome. I want to go to Rome. So that's what wants to do, is go, hey, you know what? See this here? This is an amazing arcade of Roman antiquity. Come here and see it. So what the best thing you could do is get people off their butts to go someplace. On top of that, what it is culture. And Edward and I were talking last night about, the problems that happened within the Republic and the Empire of Rome. Well, the Empire of Rome decayed, but Republic are the same problems that happen everywhere. People move. People want to go somewhere, man. It doesn't matter. You can build all the walls you want, and you can regulate it, but you ain't going to stop it. Rome tried to stop it. Everybody tried to stop it. Egypt tried to stop it. Phoenicians, everybody, man, you ain't going to stop it. Because if people say, wow, you know what? We can do some farming over there and make a lot more money and feed a whole bunch of people, they're going to go. They're going to show up there. And the best thing we can do is like not lock people out because they're going to come anyway, regulate people, but also embrace them such that we can understand cultural realism. And if you understand cultural realism, then you don't go like, gee, every Muslim is a bad guy. Everybody that crossed in the United States with a warrant is a bad guy. You don't start judging people like that. You start, understanding people and having compassion for people. And by the way, this sounds like a total Judeo-Christian, Zen, Shinto, hoity-toity, touchy-feely jam. Yeah, but the best a human being can be is be kind. That's simple. And if you handle, as Buddha said, what's in front of you with kindness, Jesus said it too. A couple of the great avatars in Judaism said it too. Look, man, every great faith has said it. Handle what's in front of you with kindness. And so that's the best thing that our world can bring. Don't go to Andalusia thinking you're just going to eat, tapas and sit in the sun, man. See the Alhambra, man. Here's some flamenco. Go to Toledo. I mean, you know what? I can't wait to get to Toledo, do a video. Toledo for 700 years is the center of culture. Like Muslim, Christian, Jew right next to each other. The mosque is about 20 yards from the synagogue. They're both Mutaharrin, architecture inside, man. And there's a cathedral around the corner. And Alfonso Tracy was the greatest. He says, okay, but he can groove, man. Okay, people go, they killed people in the Middle Ages. Yeah, they did. But you got to take things in context. Freddy II, Hohenstaufen was a great guy, a guy who gave people right to civil courts in the 1200s when nobody did that. Cyrus the Great of Persia is the guy that freed the Babylonian captivity because he had a Zoroastric vision of like people ought to be living in their homeland. That cylinder came to the Getty and came to the British Museum. 526 people killed you. They or enslaved you. They weren't like Cyrus going, you know what, man? I think the Jews ought to be living in their own homeland, man. Let's cut them loose, man. Let them go back to I was talking to a historian one day. What a jerk. I wanted to slap the guy. He goes, well, they really did that because Cyrus wanted a buffer state between him and Egypt. I go, look, man, he could have had a buffer state between him and Egypt. All he had to do was occupy Judah, and he would have had the buffer state, mofo. You know, it's not like you're going to do the Babylonian captivity. You're going to free them. And so he shut up. And it's like, you know, when people understand a little bit, this is what the great gift my mother and father gave me. Get out and meet them. My father was much more uptight about it. My mother would say, go say hello to those people. I don't want to say hello to those people, man. They look like they're from Ethiopia. Yeah, well, go ask them if they're from Ethiopia. My mother was loud and obnoxious, but I love her, man. And so it's, you know, it's I go.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing that What Our World can do. If I can do that, if I can get somebody off their ass to go embrace some other culture and go, oh, yeah, wow, I didn't know this, then I'm good.
Well, you're speaking to a fellow Persian, and
all right, well, there you go. You got a hero there, man. That guy's like, that guy is like,
there's so much rich history there, and I had the pleasure of going to Persepolis and seeing all that stuff and seeing Cyrus's tomb, all this stuff. It's amazing. And other countries like Italy and Spain have this beautiful history and architecture as well as too. And Iran, aka Persia, and all that stuff have really good, rich history and great architecture as well. So I just love how the world offers so many different things. But at the end of the day, we're all the same, right? We're all the same.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And listen, man, I got to say, you know, he's the only guy in the Tanakh, the Jewish Bible, that's called Mashiach, Cyrus. You know, he's the only non-Jew called Mashiach. That's Messiah, I mean leader, like inspiration, the guy. 526 BCE, you did not free people. I'm sorry, man. That wasn't the jam. You didn't go, yeah, you're free. Free to do what? Go back to where you want to go. Nobody did that, man. That's like unheard of.
Yeah, and your interest in all types of history, I really love, and what you give to us and what you spit out on social media, I just love it. And you've described yourself both as an internal student and teacher. So how does that philosophy shape the tone and content of Weller's World channel?
Well, to teach, you got to give context, but to teach, you also, which I learned at Syracuse University when I was getting my master's degree there, and I went back to school. I said, okay. And the great Gary Radke, emeritus professor, and Rab Hatfield gave me an in to a very special program at Syracuse where they invite 5-6 students a year to do basically the entire master's degree in Italy, but taking field trips all the way to France, all the way into Paris, sometimes into England. And Syracuse has the greatest programs abroad of any place in the world. They got programs abroad everywhere, from China all the way to Luxembourg. But when I was going to do that, I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. I just go down into my house on the Amalfi Coast. No, I had to work. And I had to take like 50. You're going to take 50 kids to Mantova. You're going to teach them Giulio Romano's Palazzo Te with all the erotic stuff on it and horses and stuff. And you're going to see, as a matter of fact, my guy, Alberti's recreation of a Roman bath in the Church of San Andrea. I go, oh, man. Yeah, and I looked down, you got to take 3 trains to Mantova in those days. You had to go to Bologna, you had to go to Parma, and you go to Mantova. I said, oh, God, I got to do this? Okay, what I noticed from some amazing people like Gary Radke and Rocky Ruggiero, I throw those names out, is that I'm looking at a lot of professors who can really command you with their personality or their doll or whatever, or their threat or their inured sense of I'm professor and you're the student. But some of them, and we all know them, and you got them too, Sean, are entertaining. They hook you. And that's, I was just talking to Charlie and Ava at lunch. Why did you like this professor? I'm going to give a shout out now to a professor of antiquity and also modern art at NYU with my friend Alex Nagel, a woman named Patricia Kim, who I do not know, but I know of. And Charlie Rudderman was saying this woman just grabbed us. This woman just had the sense of like seizing us and making it exciting. So it wasn't a bunch of facts. I said, Charlie, we remember those professors that entertain us, like Professor Kim or Alex Nagel for me, like amazing entertaining guy. Some of them are not, and they don't learn it. They're going through they know all the facts. They know that, that Leonardo got his codex published and whatever, but they can't turn you on. And that's what I hope that What Our World could do, is turn people on. Because who wants to look at the Ninja Turtles? Unless not the one in the movie, yeah. Kevin Eastman, let's go for it, brother. Kevin's a great dude. And I've got one of his original cells of Donatello here. But the original Donatello, you got to entertain with Donatello.
Yeah.
You got to go, look at this guy did. He took formalism and turned it into naturalism with people slouching, with people like crying, with people like limping, with like squinting. And nobody liked it. The churches didn't like it. The unions didn't like it. Nobody. But guess who did love it? The people. Because the people came along and said, hey, Don, that looks like my uncle. That looks like my dad. It doesn't look like, the perfect Richard Gere hair and all that. Bless Richard Gere, because he's a great dude. But he's got great hair. So, but everybody's looking at statues like that, sword, blade, drapes, and all this. And Donatello comes along and says, man, I'm going to slouch this guy. He's going to be squinting. He's going to look off in the distance. He's going to want to talk to you. And the people who saw this said, wow, that's a real dude. And then, the church and the politicians and everybody else had to back up and go, ooh, wait a minute. Everybody likes this. Where's Donatello? Let's get that guy back over here. But to entertain about Donatello is to entertain like that. You got to turn people on to like, what did he have, man, that was so grabbing? It was so fantastic. And you got to look at Donatello to see it. You got to be in Siena in the baptistry downstairs and look at 7 levels of negative space in a piece of bronze that's 2 inches thick. 7 levels, man. He is like casting through arcades, through people walking through, holding stuff, all the way up to Salome, serving the head of John the Baptist to Herod. Okay, how did that guy do that? How did that guy do that?
Yeah, and when it comes to great teaching, it's all about informing and entertaining at the same time, like you just mentioned, and being a great storyteller too. You got to be able to do that to educate people, to really bring out the story, to bring the story to life. So I do want to ask you this, because you've had such a rich acting and directing career. How did stepping into the director's chair change your relationship to maybe storytelling?
Well, it changed it a lot. I mean, I always wanted to direct. I directed in college. I directed in acting school. And I started directing a couple projects in New York. And then, thanks to Showtime and Janet Memel and a lot of people, and Steve Russo and Paramount, Elmore Leonard, I directed a Tom McGuane short, got nominated for an Oscar, and I was off and running directing. And directed Gold Coast, Elmore Leonard's movie for Showtime. But you got to know, first of all, directing those things, I'm an Elmore Leonard fan, and you got to arc Elmore Leonard. And you go, what is Elmore Leonard saying here, really? And the great thing about Elmore Leonard is that he's a revisionist crime guy. He's not talking about Mr. Big. Mr. Big, who you think is going to be the bad guy, is ultimately killed by the slovenly thug who's the henchman. And why? Because this is Elmore Leonard's jam. This is like storytelling, though, but you got to know it. Got to know what Elmore Leonard's up to. Why is it the henchman? Because Elmore Leonard was more interested about how the henchman, street dude, survived than he was the big-time lawyer, the big-time corporate dude, the whatever. The street guy with the gun is the guy you got to be afraid of, because he's the guy that can manipulate you and then kill you. He's got no second thoughts about it. And that's Elmore Leonard's jam. So that's storytelling, but you got to go into the genre before you do the story. Uta Hagen always said that. Kazan always said that. I mean, all the greats of the method said that. What's the genre of the thing? Is this a comedy? Is it a dramedy? Is it a soap opera? Is it whatever? It doesn't matter what it is. Is it just entertainment? And then they all did them. It's not that like Kazan, everything he did was Chekhov. For crying out loud, or Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, and so when it comes to the YouTube channel, Weller's World, the snippets you talk about, you're doing storytelling in such a quick way, but also informing and entertaining at the same time. So I just feel like it all comes full circle based on that. Dr. Weller, I got some a couple of rapid fire questions if you're up for it.
Sure, let's go.
Preferred way to drink your coffee?
Okay. First of all, Sean, you got to get the right beans. If you don't have Arabic beans, I was just talking to my friend Jeffrey Yates about this. You don't have Arabic beans. If you use the Robusta beans that they used all over LA, they're bitter. And it doesn't matter. I could give you a ton of places. It's just one of those really nice places. Guy makes great egg sandwiches. He's just Robusta beans. Back taste is terrible. You got to get Arabic beans, and they got to be very low roasted. And the Italians are masters at it. And by the way, all their beans by law have to be organic. And the only place in town that I've found anything equivalent to, you can get online. You can get Kimbo, Segafredo, you get Lavazza, you get the best one, Sequela out of Abruzzo. That's the best one I've tried, but they're all good. Kimbo, all of them, man. Danese. But they're all Arabic beans. They're all non-aftertaste beans. They're all like low roast beans. And so you got to get the bean. And if you ain't got the bean, forget it. There's no combo. Okay, so first I got the bean. Second, you got to get the machine. See, in Naples, they say 4 things. The 4-4M, right? The miscele, that's the bean. La macchina, that's the machine. Il mano, that's the talent, the hand, right? And la magica, that's just your talent, that's just at whim. If you got those 4 things, you can kill a coffee. But I don't know, man. It's just so, I just do mine. I cheat. I put a Neapolitan dash of cream in it. Sometimes I'll make a macchiatone, which is a big macchiato. But they got to be from Italy, the beans, 1. And B, they got to come out of I got a Bezzera machine that costs a fortune in there. Got to be right machine. And C, I think I got to make it. Now, here's the thing, Sean. Have you ever been to Italy?
Yes, I have.
Okay, look, you walk into the train station in Milan, and people call me and go, "We're already standing in line, man, and lines go really fast." I ordered a cappuccino. It was the finest cappuccino I ever had. No bitter aftertaste. It's unbelievable. I had another one. What's with this? They're going through 10,000 kilos a week for this, man. They can write your name, with their eyes closed. Bus stations, train stations, all over Italy. This is their culture. They know how to do this backwards. They're not going to stand there and make pleasantries to you, man. They're grinding that stuff out and throwing it at you, man. So Italy's magic. And I'm sorry for all of you Australians who have your flat whites, because the flat white is nothing but a cappuccino. You made bad cappuccinos based on the American spooning out foam, which is called scuma. And then you leveled it down, banged out the bubbles, made your flat white with the crema on top, and you called it a flat white. You know what? Aussie friends, in Italy, that's just a cappuccino. They don't use scuma. Go on my Instagram. There's a whole thing. I'll show you how to make it. So Australia made the flat white, but that's just a cappuccino. Knocking out the bubbles, putting the crema on it, man, and pouring it so it the cream stays on top. Cappuccino.
There you go.
A glass latte. Put more milk in it. It's a cafe latte, a latte macchiato, man.
I know Dr. Weller takes his coffee serious. That's why I have to ask that one. Next one I have for you.
I'm drinking it now.
Cigar on a balcony in Rome or at a jazz club in New York?
Wow, man. They used to be so good at a jazz club in New York, but you can't. The Blue Note doesn't allow it anymore.
Yeah.
Look, man, there's nothing better than being not on a balcony. Balconies are good. Been in a bunch of them. But man, when you're sitting in the Piazza Navona, if you're sitting in I gotta say, man, if you're sitting in the Piazza San Marco in Venice, looking at that church, at the Cafe Quadri, having a cigar, maybe that's my favorite cigar. Maybe my friend Tom Ball and I, who lives in Venice and also in Boston, Tom and Catherine Ball, documentary filmmaker guy, friend for 35 years. We go to the Quadri and sit there, and I smoke a cigar. There's nothing like that. As much as I love to be in a jazz club, you can't smoke anymore in a jazz club. But I'll tell you another place we discovered, my friends from LA. We went on this golf thing. We're going to the Ryder Cup in Rome. These guys are I buried their heads, Brad and Chuck and Bradford Hughes and Chuck Davison and Luke Henderson and my friend Billy Godet from New Orleans. These are all great pals, and they're all great golf pals. But you know what? I go for the golf, they go for the art, because I take them all over the place, man, and show them a ton of art. And they love it. I mean, they just absolutely loved it. But they've never been to Assisi. They've never seen the upper church in Assisi, the lower church of Simone Martini in Assisi. Never walked to Assisi. I said, okay, boys, we're going to go to Assisi. We're going to stay in the Hotel Giotto, one of the great artists of the world. And so we went to the upper church of Assisi, the lower church of Assisi. We walked to Assisi. We came back, man, and the sun was setting over the valley of Umbria to the north, west, and we're sitting on the balcony of this hotel in high up in Assisi, looking at the valley forever and ever and ever. I'm smoking a cigar, and I got to say, that's a pretty close run with Venice as far as the cigars go. Okay, now I'm going to give you one more, Sean. Okay, one more cigar. Ready for this? This is bizarre. The History Channel, I did a show called Engineering an Empire right before I got married. Sherry and I had to go to Beijing and present for the History Channel the engineering of the Great Wall. Okay, the Olympics were going to come. So essentially, China was bulldozing a lot of stuff, and they were taking it down. And then they told us, what we're going to do, the Great Wall thing, is way out of Beijing. I said, how far? They said 20 miles, but it's going to take us 2 hours to get there because they only drive 8 miles an hour. When we get to this place, it's like still dark. I can't see the Great Wall. I can see this bulldozers around a parking lot. I can see a funicular that doesn't look like it's even finished. I can see a lean-to third world thing with lights and paper lanterns and jerry-rigged wires. And I'm thinking, man, I'm so sick of jasmine tea at this point, man. I'd like just give part of my estate for a coffee, a cappuccino. And I asked the interpreter, I said, is there any place in Fsville, China, around here that's got a cappuccino? She says, hang on. She says, okay, the elderly lady that runs it said, you and Sherry walk down the rocks to the pond, and the granddaughter will make you a cappuccino. And I think, okay, I'm going to die outside of Beijing at a third world stump in a pond with stagnant water on what's called a cappuccino. So Sherry and I sit there going, this ain't happening, man. And the sun starts to slowly rise. This is sometimes God answers your prayers, man. Like Oscar Wilde said, be careful. Sun starts to rise, and we see the outline of the Great Wall. It's phenomenal. And a wind starts to come over, and we smell gardenias. And we look down, and we see that the whole pond in front of us, which we've never seen at all, is just got floating gardenias. I'm watching the sun come over the wall, and then we hear this little voice go like this, bark right in our ears, do this. Latte. We jump, we turn around, we see a girl that turns out to be about 19. She looked like she was 10. I go, what? She says, latte. I said, okay. She goes back behind a jerry-rigged crate situation up thing with like wires into it. And I sit there and I let up a cigar, and all of a sudden I hear this noise. And I said to Sherry, I said, you know something? If fate had not stuck me in the middle of nonsense China, in spite of the gardenias and the Great Wall with the sun, I would say that's my $8,000 Venetian Mazer grinder, grinding bean. And she says, sure as hell sounds like it. I said, but I'm not going to go look. Lo and behold, 5 minutes later, up come 2 Danese cups, one with a heart, latte art, one with a tree. Perfect temperature, 130 degrees. One of the greatest cappuccinos I've ever had in my life. I go, I can't believe this. She says, I don't believe it either. We go running back, and on the dirt floor on crates, she has a $20,000 La Marzocco 4-head machine. Stacks of kilos of Danese beans, right, with the Mazer grinder, with wired into like water filters and so forth. Then she, in behind, she shows us an Algida freezer with Magnum bars, which is Italy's idea of the ice cream bar. We don't understand it. And so finally they say, you know what? Everybody's competing for the Olympics, and you have stumbled into Italy's turf. Italy has taken over this part of the Great Wall for their tourism of the Olympics, and they've loaned all this stuff. And this girl is the one girl that knows how to do it. And I'm telling you, Sean, who knows? Who's man? Who knows who can entertain about art, and who knows who can make a great cappuccino? Don't sell anybody short.
That's amazing. So now I'm going to follow up with this one. The best meal you ever had while traveling. Obviously, that seems like a great coffee story, but what the best meal you ever had while traveling? I know it's a tough one.
I've been to several great places. I've been to, Osteria Francescana. I've been to the Alain Ducasse restaurants in Paris, and a couple of the 3-star Michelin restaurants all over the world. Japan, Kobe beef in Kobe. Chris Lloyd and I were just there last year eating Kobe beef at Mariah in Kobe, because they keep the good stuff there, and you ain't had Kobe beef until you go to Kobe. But all in all, I got to say, the one thing that I'm addicted to, probably addicted to, is in Venice at either Harry's Bar or Da Fiore, if they got them, is white truffles from Alba in season. And they only come from Alba. Don't talk about your San Miniato or your Oregon truffles or the truffles from Japan or the truffles, la, 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 la. White truffles come from Alba, which is a little bitty province in Piemonte. They come down to Turin. They're sold. Yes, people steal them. They're extraordinarily expensive. But when you have them right, you got to just put them on tagliolini with butter. You don't put anything on it. Tagliolini with butter or risotto or eggs. That's it. And that is, I could eat that, and I do, every night, every afternoon. And white truffles from Alba on a risotto or tagliolini. This is the best meal I've ever had. In spite of Massimo Bottura is a great friend and makes some great stuff in Osteria Francescana, which is, as a restaurant go, that's one of my favorites in the world. But I don't know, man. I don't know. And, it's like, a couple places in Positano, man, make a spaghetto shway with cherry tomatoes off of Vesuvius. Bruno's La Cambusa. I don't know. It's that Neapolitan cookie. By the way, I don't know if you saw it, but in front page of New York Times Arts and Leisure about 2 months ago, the #1 city in the world to eat, Naples. #1 city. I went through the whole thing. Fresh buffalo mozzarella, the tomatoes, the yellow cherry tomatoes, the arugula, the figs,
I believe it. No, I believe it. And whenever that Dr. Weller World Tour starts booking for people to come along with you, I am signing up to join you to anywhere you're going.
We got you, man. And you got to go to places, right outside of Naples. I mean, look, there's the Villa Plantas. There's places around Pompeii. I mean, they bring out a padella and they're throwing the spaghetti on your plate. And you go, oh my God, how do you do this? And, the guy will say, hey, man, we do this with our eyes closed. You can't do it. But as the great Wolfgang Puck says, that cooking in Naples is so fast and so fresh that it's the simplest but easiest to mess up. Like 20 seconds too long in the water, 20 seconds too long in the skillet, it's overdone. So I don't know how to. I've been there 35 years, Sean. I don't know how to do it. I get it right about once every 5 times.
I'm just getting hungry too listening to this. Dr. Weller, I want to end on this last note. If you could pass on a piece of sage advice to your students or your audience or your fans, what would it be?
First of all, if you're in school and you're thinking about getting another degree, stay in school. Stay. Get the master's, get the PhD, just keep the motor running. It's so hard to start that engine again. Look, I did it, but I did it as a goof, as a lark, as a whatever. But then once I did the master's degree, they said, hey, man, you know what? You got to keep this thing going. You want a PhD, you can't just quit and then go back and do this PhD because your credits ain't going to be no good. You got to justify. So, hey, if you're in school and you got eyes on something further, doesn't matter whether it's business, medicine, whatever, stay there and get it done. You will be so happy and so rewarded. People go like, no, I need a break. No, you don't need a break. Take a month, go to Paris, whatever you want to go to Mexico City and eat great. Don't stop. And the other thing is that, like, get out among them. This is the only thing I'm going to tell you, is that you got to get out among people in the world. Otherwise, you'll sit in a room and judge the world. And life is not judgments and assessments. Tom, I didn't grow up with Siddhartha Buddha as my next door neighbor, teaching me the ways of the world and how to behave amongst people. But you've got to get out among them. If you're young, I got two things to say. First law of prosperity, which, by the way, comes from, I think, ancient Hinduism all the way to Persia. I'm not sure. We don't know. This is real simple, people. And I did it. I didn't know it, but I know I was doing it. Find out what you really want to do and do that. And it doesn't say anything about reward, about Ferraris, about the hot boyfriend or girlfriend, about the house, money, prestige, nothing. Find out what you really want to do and do that. That's the law of prosperity. That's where the soul grows. I know it's fun to have stuff. It's great. I've had it. It doesn't bring you happiness. But it's only having that stuff. There's a great Berry Gordy line that I heard him say on a balcony. But it's only having this stuff that I can say that. Because somebody without stuff, it looks like the stuff is the way to happiness. Yeah, read the obituary of Paul Mellon, the son of Andrew Mellon. There's nothing like the touch from someone who loves you. That's it on that. So find out what you really want to do and do that. And here's the thing. The second part of that is, this is an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. He says it over and over again. No plan B. Hey, if it doesn't work out, I'll sell terracotta plates at Macy's. No. You want to sell terracotta plates at Macy's to support you while you're doing what you want to do? Fine. But no plan B. Find out what you really want to do that. No plan B. A, get out of the house and go among them. C, stay in school.
That's some of the best advice I've ever heard, Dr. Weller. That was fantastic. I can't wait for everyone to hear those words and tune into, Weller's world, where they're going to learn even more. So I wanted to thank you again for sharing, your time, your insight, and your passion today. It was really a true honor speaking with you. And honestly, I'm so grateful for the chance to learn from you, honestly. And I know your audience will be inspired when they tune in.
Sean, it's a delight to see you again. And you have my audience whenever you want, man. Just give me a ring.